All right, welcome back. So, in this video, we are going to learn about agents. In the previous video, we covered the theoretical aspect of agent. Now, what actually agent is? So, let us cover it in a very nutshell. So, consider a agent as someone who is actually doing the job. Master is someone who is helping in triggering the job. So, okay, so right now, the current setup of our Jenkins is like we were executing the job on our master, and the master was only acting as an agent. So we have a built-in agent in Jenkins that were running by default. Now, why we should consider agent in the very first place if we have built-in agent? So see, now let's consider you have Python-based application, you have Angular-based application, and you have Java-based application. But for each of the project, you will need a specific environment, and in order to segregate those environment, you can create an agent. Now, agent is the place where you will be actually executing your job and where you will be building your own images. So, the only thing that you will require in this case would be just the authenticator parameter, that is the SSH key, and secondly, Java, since Jenkins is based out of Java. And the best thing is you don't have to install Jenkins on your agent. It's just the master where Jenkins is required, right? So let us proceed with the configuration of of the agent, and let's begin. So right now I am on my terminal. So this is my master node where you can see the Jenkins is up and running. Meantime, what we are going to do is let me launch an instance so that meantime it is up and running. And here we'll write it as worker node. Okay. Now here we are going to select the key pair. If you don't have a key pair, then go with the new one. I'll select the one which we were using in our master, and then make sure that you're allowing the security groups for HTTP and HTTPS, and then click on launch instance. Okay. Meantime, the instance is launching. What we have to do, we have to generate the SSH key pair. So for that, what you have to do, go to the directory called /.ssh. Okay. So this is an hidden directory. That is why it is showing as .ssh. So let me just clear the screen. And when I do double L long list, you can see there is an authorized keys. Now, what I have to do, I have to create an authentication key. So for that, I'll just type SSH-keygen. That will generate the SHA-1 key value for me. So yeah, this would be the place. Just press on enter and your key will be created. So let me just click on ls, and here you can see there are two files which are present, id_ed25519 and id_ed25519.pub, where .pub file is a public file and id_ed25519 is a private key. Okay, so when I do cat on this file, so this is how a private key looks like, and when I do a cat on this public file, this is how our public file looks like. Now see, here the thing is we have generated the private file and the public file, and in order to do the authentication, okay, you will have to pass on this public file to the agent. Based on this, it will do the authentication. Now, how do we do it? Let us proceed with the same. What I'm going to do is I'll create one more tab over here. We are going to name this tab as master node. Okay, this is the place where Jenkins is configured and we were running our job so far. Let me mark it as yellow, and this cell would be for the worker node, the instance that we launched. I'll mark it as red for now. I'll go to downloads where my key is present. I'll make the font a little bit bigger so that it would be visible for you. Now, since the instance is up and running, what I'm going to do is I'll just connect it via SSH. I'll go to instances. So this is the worker node, and here we want to connect. So I'll just go and copy and I'll paste the command over here. So I'm going to connect it via SSH, and here you can see we have successfully logged in. And here, okay, I think we have selected a wrong machine. We were supposed to select Ubuntu machine. So I'll just go back. Let me just do a cat /etc os-release. Oh, we selected a Fedora based machine. Let us go back and create another new machine, that is Ubuntu again. So I'll terminate this instance and I'll create another one. So launch instance, again, worker node. So I'll select it as Ubuntu this time, and key pair would be again the same, Jenkins-key, allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic, and then I'll click on launch instance. Okay, so this is something that we were supposed to do. Let me clear up the screen. Okay, now I'll go to instances again, and I'll connect with the Ubuntu machine. All right, let us give it some time so that it is up and running. Okay, let me just connect it once again. All right. All right. So we are under the Ubuntu machine, which is under worker node. So the first thing that we want to do is, okay, we want to add this public key to the private. So I'll just copy this public key and I go to the worker node where I will be again visiting to the same directory, that is tilde slash dot ssh. Okay, and here when I do ls, here we have the authorization key. When I do a cat on authorization key, all the keys will be present over here. But what I want to do right now is I want to add the public key from master node to the worker node. So what I'm going to do is I'll just type echo. This is the key and I want to append it to authorization keys. Okay, done. Now the second thing is, in order to communicate it via Jenkins, we will need one more thing, and that is Java. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to refer my same repository which we have been following so far. So I'll go to my repository. And here in my repository, you will find a subfolder name 5, where I have written down all the methods, all the things that we are doing so far. Okay, so if you go to agent setup, you will find all the information that we are being doing so far. Okay, so here under Jenkins agent configuration, there are two things that we need to do. The first thing is, after adding the keys, you have to update the system, and post that you have to install OpenJDK 70. All right, so let us wait for some time so that it will update the system, and post that we will install Java 17 so that it would be easier for us to do the authentication. There is one more thing, that while you are executing this, if you face any issue, so there might be a possible reason that the permissions are not set up correctly. Now, what permission we are talking about? So see, in the agent, you have to set the permission of 700 in SSH folder, and for the authorization key, you have to set the permission of 600. All right, so let us wait for some time, and we are going to set the same permission for .ssh directory, read write executable permission, and secondly is 600 permission, that is read and write permission. Okay, so all right, let me just go and change the permission for .ssh, and here I am changing the permission for authorization key. Okay, so node configuration from this end is done. Now we are going to check whether the master is actually able to make the SSH connection to it or not. So for that, what I will need the public IP address of my worker node, and I'll type SSH at Ubuntu, SSH Ubuntu at followed by the IP address. Okay, and when I click on enter, okay, it is saying do you want to connect? I'll press yes, and here you can see from my master I am able to do the authentication, and I am right now connected to my worker node. I'll just press on exit. So the initial configuration from master and node perspective is done. Now let us go directly to Jenkins, where we are going to actually make the node configuration. So I'll go back to instance, and this time I will be needing the IP address, the public IP of my Jenkins server. I'll open a new tab. Now, once the tab is open, I'll just log in. And post login is done, we will be back to our dashboard, and here is the place where we have been doing our job so far and so good. Now, the first thing that I will have to do is, now since this is a node configuration, I will have to go to settings, And here under settings, that is under manage Jenkins, you have to go under nodes. Okay. So this is the place where we will be adding a node. Right now, whatever we were running on the built-in node that comes by default. Now I'll go on, click on new node, and here I'll write the node name. So my node name is worker hyphen node, and I want to make it as a permanent agent where I am executing the job on it. Okay. Now description. So I'll write the description. This is a worker node for job execution. And here I have number of executors. So basically it should be one for now. And it is asking you for the remote directory. So the remote directory is the place where it will store the workspace file. Okay. Now you wonder what actually is a workspace file. So basically the place where all the files are stored after the execution. So basically whatever job you create, there is a directory that is being created for it. So here it is asking you for the root directory. So here in our case, it would be for agents root directory. So it is /home/ubuntu. Okay. And label. So basically label is the actual parameter which will tell the master where to execute the job. So I'll just write worker node, worker hyphen node. And here you in usage, you have to select use this node as much as possible, and launch method. So basically we are connecting it via SSH. Okay. And here you have to provide the public IP address in the host place. So I'll go to worker node and I'll just copy the public IP, that is IPv4 address. And here in the credentials, now since here we are dealing with SSH, we have to provide the public key and private key. I'll click on add and I'll go to Jenkins. And here under the kind, you have to select SSH username with private key. Now the scope will be global, and here it is asking you for the ID. So I'll just write worker node. Okay, and the description, worker agent, Jenkins agent, and the username. So basically the username of the user who will be executing the job, so that would be Ubuntu. And here I'll add the private key directly. Now where do I find my private key? So basically if you remember under master node, when we were generating the public key and private key, that is the place where it is asking you for the key. So when you do ll under .ssh directory, it is asking you for this private key. So let us do a cat on it and copy the entire key. Make sure you're not missing in the comment as well. Copy everything, whatever you see over here, and paste it directly into this source. Now once everything is done, click on add. So you have added the credential and click on the drop down and click on this Ubuntu worker Jenkins agent. Okay. Now next thing is it is showing host key verification strategy. Okay. So right now we are going for non-verifying verification strategy, and in terms of availability, we want to keep this agent as much as possible. So we will keep it by default and then click on save. All right, the initial work is done. Now when you will go to worker node, here if you go to logs, it will try to make a connection. Okay. Now once everything is good, it will show you that the agent is connected and online. Okay. Now Shubham, so far so good, everything is been going good. Okay, because we have been following each and every step that has been given. Now how do I make sure where I am running the job? So what we are going to do this time, let us go to the Jenkins pipeline section, and here under declarative pipeline, we actually created a Jenkins file. Okay, so this time let us follow the same approach, but here I wanted to show you something. So that's the reason I'll create one more new project. So I'll go to dashboard again and I'll create a new item, and here I'll write agent job, and here I'll going to create a pipeline, or we can go with a freestyle as well. So right now let us go with the pipeline, and under pipeline I'll write this is agent running job. All right, and I'll go directly to the pipeline, and here I'll paste my UID printer. Okay, now what it does, basically it will build, test and deploy the application. But see, here is the place where we are going to define our agent. So here agent is n, but here what I want to do is I want to pass the agent whose label matches with worker node. So this was the ID which we added, right? So how it is working? So pipeline agent where the label is worker node. Here we want to run 3 commands. So I'll just click on apply and save, and then I'm going to build the trigger. Click on proceed. I'll go back again. Okay, and here you can see the job has been executed. And here, if you go on workspace, okay, it is saying under home Ubuntu workspace agent job has been created. Okay, let us verify the same. I'll go to the worker node. Okay, I'll just go to /home/Ubuntu. So this is the working place which we defined initially while we were doing the configuration. And here we have something called workspace where all the history will be stored. So I'll just go to workspace again. And here when I do long list, you can see the agent job is present over here. When I do CD on agent job and when I do LL, okay, all the things will be present over here. Now since we didn't created any file, it didn't show any of the file right now. So let us edit this console file once again. So I'll go to agent job again and I'll go to configuration, and under this configuration I'll go back to pipeline where we have defined the build so far. So what I'm going to do in the deploy section, I will create a new file. So under this sh, I'll just write touch new.txt. So it will create a new file for me, and I'll just write creating new file just for demonstration purpose. So I'll click on apply and save, and I'll click on build now. Okay, now it is success again. If you go to log, okay, here you can see the new file has been created. I'll go back to agent, and when I do long list, here you can see the new text file is created. So that is how we do the worker node configuration in Jenkins. So right now we understood how do we configure a Jenkins and how you can execute a job over here. So for our simplicity, I will provide you this Jenkins file so that when you are running the job, when you are following this video, whatever commands has been executed, you will be getting the same results as I am getting. So I'll go to the fifth folder and I'll just add this file. I'll create a new file over here. So we will name it as Jenkins Agent init run. So I'm pasting the same file where I have the label name worker node, where we are just running few echo commands, that is building the project, running the project, and then we are creating a new file. So for all the verification point over here is whether the file is actually getting run or not. That thing is being verified by touch command, that is it created a new file. So I'm just committing it on to the main branch, and here you can keep this file for reference. Okay, so that was all in this specific video where we learned about master and agent configuration, where we understood about what is agent and why we should use agent in the very first place. In the coming video, we are going to see a use case of agent, how we should configure it, right? So as I mentioned in the starting itself, that agent is the place where you will be executing your job. Right now, let's consider a scenario where you have a Python based application, when you have an Angular based application, and where you have a Java based application. In that case, how will you utilize your agent? So that we are going to see in the coming videos. But for now, let us close this video. Let us wrap it up, whatever we did so far. And also one more thing, whatever steps we did, you can follow along with this resume.md file. All the information is written over here, right? Starting from the master configuration and the node configuration, and whatever you want to do in the Jenkins manage job, all the things are present over here, right? So yeah, that was all, and I will see you in the next one.